Tappei has just released Arc 8 Chapter 9, and this video will be a summary of the chapter. The greatest crisis arrived in the history of Arakiya. The decision was made to abandon the palace and capital. The divine generals discussed the strategy, with Obart laughing as he's never heard of an emperor retreating in his entire life. However, the divine generals agreed with the plan. Obart was tasked with helping Mogoro, stating that Mogoro will lose. However, they couldn't let the reservoir be destroyed yet. Vincent then tasks Obart with that goal. Obart asks if Goz can do it, since Obart cannot fully take on Balleroy if he's flying in the air. However, Vincent has another task for Goz to fulfill. Goz's role was to use his powerful voice to rally the soldiers to their side as they retreat from the city. Goz then proceeded to shout out, rallying soldiers to come to him. Obart then disappeared and ran up the walls of the damaged structure and jumped onto Mogoro's body and then joined the battle. However, since he was a shinobi, he would be able to handle himself with his secret techniques. Vincent then asks Ubilk how many stargazers are nearby, and Ubilk says 27. Ubilk is then tasked with rescuing people, because if they stay in the city, they will die. The Prime Minister was left in the room. Vincent notes that he is very silent, and the Prime Minister said that two people giving orders would lead to confusion, so he is refraining from speaking. Vincent states that if there are two heads, then it's best to cut off one of them, and the Prime Minister agrees and states that he will happily give up his head. Vincent knows that the Prime Minister's betrayal was not due to power, but due to his own devotion to the country. Vincent of course notes that Chisha Gold planned for all of this to occur, taking on Vincent's name and dying to trigger the Great Disaster, meaning Chisha would have planned for countermeasures, meaning that there must be something present to help Vincent. We see soldiers enter the room, determined. Vincent calls out to Mogoro. He doesn't know if Mogoro can actually hear him, but he states that if he protects the magical cannon, he will grant Mogoro's wish. Vincent then looks down towards his troops and tells them to retreat to the fortified city of Garkla. The remedy to deal with the situation is there. For those that have forgotten, in Arc 3, when Julius and Subaru and them lot are talking about the Sin Archbishops, we were informed that Regulus Corneus was the person that destroyed the city of Garkla. And I'm pretty sure that's where Todd met Jamal as well. The scene changes. Both the rebels and the Imperial soldiers knew that the atmosphere had changed. These people who were once enemies were now under one banner known as the Imperial People, becoming a pack of wolves led by Selena Dracoi and Vincent Valakia. However, there is still one battlefield burning red. The battlefield that was burning red was the one with Arakiya. Yorna kicks off the ground which she initially yearned for as Yorna and also as Sandra Benedict was before her. Yorna's soul marriage technique can only be applied to the things she loves. So therefore, of course, Yorna would love the land that person was so affectionate for, referring, by the way, to the King of Thorns. When she was Iris, she fell in love with the Valakian Emperor known as the King of Thorns. She was praised and she was able to walk alongside this king. However, their future was robbed as they were betrayed by a werewolf and a mole man. By the way, so that's obviously why werewolves and the mole people are cursed and not liked. The paradise that the King of Thorns was supposed to build was postponed, and Iris's soul was bound to the land which was stained by the blood of the traitors. Since then, Iris had been reborn again and again. So love comes with happiness and unhappiness. When the love in Yorna clicked, The ground leaped up in anticipation. Yorna kicked down on Arakiya's skin and made contact, giving Arakiya pain and blowing apart the shroud of shadows and air that she covered herself in. Yorna then proceeds to smack Arakiya with her pipe, and Arakiya tries to attack her back. However, Yorna cannot dodge it because she's mid-air. However, she used rubble as footholds to run away. Since Yorna was full of resentment and love for the land of Wallachia, the ground would twist to her whims. Yorna then closed the distance to Arakiya again. She had the upper hand, but she didn't want to get conceited. Arakiya still had her magic branch in her hand, a weapon that didn't break or become tarnished, almost as if it was a sacred treasure or weapon. Arakiya swings her branch, and Yorna blocks it with her pipe. She recoils from the pain. She can use her soul marriage technique to transfer the pain to her ornaments, but she doesn't do that, and she doesn't believe that one should be one-sided. Yorna states "I love you," and that is the decision she came to. Yorna must not aim for one-sided love, but for mutual affection. Priscilla watches the battle, her eye burning, which shows that she is loved. Priscilla understands what Yorna is doing, and calls her mother reckless. The soul marriage technique is a technique which is rare and has no known successors. It requires perfect balance to use. Yorna's attempts were a dangerous gamble which could sever her connection to her loved ones. Yorna was currently trying to break a taboo, in order to prevent Priscilla from fighting Arakiya. When Yorna tapped Priscilla on the forehead earlier, Priscilla knew that Yorna looked passionate and affectionate. At that point, Yorna wanted to take matters into her own hands. However, Priscilla knew of Arakiya's origins, an artificially created race with twisted characteristics. To wield great power, you must sacrifice a corresponding price. The same goes for Priscilla with the Yang sword or using the soul marriage technique. Priscilla initially believed her brother Vincent could provide sunlight to Arakiya's world, which was currently crowded and covered in shadows. However, when she was Prisca Benedict, she obviously made a mistake. She should have taken Arakiya with her when she left Wallachia. Priscilla only came to realize it now on the battlefield. Vincent's preparations in this war meant that he believed he would die at the end of it. If that was the case, then what would happen to Arakiya? To just become loyal to a new emperor? Priscilla calls it ridiculous and badmouths Vincent as she steps forward. The red skies are dyed red, and Priscilla, as if representing the sun, steps forward. She then states that the world is made to be convenient for her. The scene changes. Arakiya didn't know what to feel. She was the second strongest in the empire. She was a spirit eater, an existence unparalleled not only in Wallachia but in the entire world. However, these strong beings that she surrounded herself with could not provide her with a pillar of support like Prisca could. Arakiya had to make a decision. The blades were raining down on Arakiya, and Arakiya screamed in pain. Arakiya was about to shout out, but Yorna slapped her in the face. Arakiya only needed one blow to stop Yorna. If Yorna was removed, then Arakiya could be with Prisca again. If you want something, then it's more constructive to go get it, rather than to wait. That was what Todd said. Todd's words resonated within Arakiya's heart. It wasn't as if Todd had emotions for Arakiya, it was the opposite. Because Todd held no emotions towards Arakiya when he said it, it was like salvation to her. The magic branch she was holding burnt to a crisp. It was a simple branch that allowed her to direct her power. However, with the branch broken, Arakiya could tap into a true power. She had only unleashed this power in a battle with Cecilus once before. Cecilus was of course unhurt, but the power was so large that it reshaped the world map, and the resulting location was made into a reservoir. The world is made to be inconvenient for me. Priscilla then enters the fray with a yang sword piercing Arakiya's flames, which would have covered the world black. She then calls out to Yorna, who launches Priscilla into Arakiya, striking her. Arakiya falls unconscious, hearing Priscilla state that the sword cuts what it wants to cut, burns what it wants to burn, not realizing that she was hit with the hilt of the sword. The scene changes. The young boy laughs. A boring actor's stage would not catch the eyes of busy people. Laughter signifies something. Laughter signifies the start of a story. To laugh is to be prepared to enter the stage. Cecilus tells them to laugh, and then states to not worry, that he arrived here because of his intuition. Behind him is the cracked reservoir wall. Cecilus then strikes a pose. Standing before him is the villain. What to do with you is worrisome, deliberation required. Standing before Cecilus was the stature of a small witch with numerous undead, and with that the chapter ends. So in short, the Divine Generals are retreating and going to the city of Garkla to get the remedy to beat Sphinx, I should say, and Arakiya has been defeated, and Cecilus is currently with Sphinx. So I'm wondering if Cecilus will betray Subaru, because obviously Cecilus could one-shot the villain right now. So of course Tapei's not going to do that. So I'm wondering how this is going to be remedied.